Hey guys, it's Matt. Someone sent me this book a few years ago. They did a video on it, John Keel, The Mothman Prophecies. Apparently the book has nothing to do with or very little to do with the movie with, what is his name, Richard Gere. But I was looking, I had underlined some passages here, and I made some notes, and I just wanted to, they're just fascinating to me. And, you know, this book was written a long time ago, and we'll look at a Wikipedia on who this John Keel is. But he just kind of always is, he takes a step towards trying to explore reality itself. All of these accounts of UFOs and Mothman, and most of it's not about Mothman, most of it's about just general UFO encounters and paranormal phenomena and spaceships landing in the back of a farmer's field. And he's always kind of just going right to the edge, but he never kind of comes out and says it directly. And this, I did allude to this last time I covered this. It's the most fascinating part. He's saying it's basically like reality itself. Is a real spaceship landing from a different system? No. But is the person giving the account or the testimony lying? No. It's both at the same time. And there's also a few parts where he alludes to whatever he was most interested in investigating is what the paranormal phenomenon brought to him, or we would say what reality brought to him. So I'm going to read several of the underlined passages in here, and you know this is worth revisiting one more time. Oh, people want to see people want to see the wall of cats. Of course, they want to see the wall of cats. The wall of cats. Cooper and Gouda. Oh, sweetie, Addie girl. The wall of cats. Oh boy. I call that picture. I'm gonna have it labeled "The Moments of Our Lives." At some point, something got their attention. These pictures are incredible to me. Coming back to insert this, guys, 45 seconds or less, because I just start talking in the video like everybody knows exactly what this is, and many of you won't know what this is. So again, released in the mid-70s, John A. Keel. This Mothman Prophecies is one of the most famous books regarding UFO paranormal phenomenon. He's called a UFOologist. The book is just account after account, hundreds and hundreds of accounts, not just of this strange creature Mothman. That's a small portion. Accounts of spaceships, aliens, not abduction as much as visitation. Endless accounts with John Keel out there interviewing the farmer or interviewing the person on the highway where the alien ship landed. That's what this book is. And again, if there are 5 famous books of all time on UFOology or whatever, this is one of the big 5. I'm sorry, I needed to insert this. Now, one of the reasons I picked up Mothman Prophecies again and started to page through it was just to see how far John Keel would go back in the day. Oh, I should have mentioned the original publication of Mothman Prophecies, 1975. 75. Like, how far is he going to go to blame reality itself? Or reality is a reflection of ourselves. That's been a big theme of this channel over the past 4 or 5 years, going right back to when we talked about the event horizon as another truth drop, whether the writers knew what they were writing about or not. The event horizon is like a microcosm of like the dark reality itself. And Dr. Weir is a Sam Neill. Sam Neill, he was in the mouth of madness. He's played some weird shit. I mean, this guy has done some strange things. Other than the normal role in Jurassic Park, says this ship. Oh, actually, it was Lawrence Fishburne that said, the ship, the event horizon, it gets inside your head. It shows you. Well, it's a reflection of the real entities or real spiritual beings in the ship. This reality is a reflection of the real spiritual beings here, if not on a micro level, as a collective. And John Keel, he kind of goes here, but very, very subtly. You know, he himself, it's not like he's holding back to sell books, in my opinion. It's not like he's holding back because people just want to hear about the spaceship landing in the farmer's field. He doesn't himself, in my opinion, know, at least when this book was written, he doesn't really know how to talk about it. And I'm sure if he was still around, he would really be interested in the types of conversations we have about reality being I mean, this is just a given at this point. We've proven this, a reflection of ourselves, even sometimes the individual, especially, of course, the collective. I went over to John Keel's Wikipedia page just to see when he died. At the bottom, oh no. You know, I can't resist this, guys. 20 seconds, just give me 20 seconds. Sorry to interrupt, but your gift helps Wikipedia stay free from paywalls and ads. Please donate $2.75. Look at the buttons on the right. No, but maybe later when I have more time. It has nothing to do with my time, sir. I don't want to give you a penny, you creeps. And then the next button says, yes, I'll donate $2.75. And then off to the right, you can't see the button. It says, go fuck yourself. Sorry, there are 4 or 5 different covers for the book, The Mothman Prophecies. But what a coincidence. The 2 most prominent covers, the way I see it, the book that I have, top left, it's bathed in magenta. And then this one is one of the original covers, or the original cover, bathed in magenta. Coincidence? No, not because the secret societies planned it. It's part of, in this case, part of reality itself. The magenta has to align itself in this reality as much as possible with certain themes and truths, etc. So, I mean, this guy, John Keel, his reputation is relatively intact. He's relatively well respected. Considering what he was investigating or, quote, into back in the day when he's doing this stuff in the 50s and the 60s. I mean, all this stuff is like normal and routine now. The government's trying to normalize it through the Department of Defense and the Navy and the blurry bullshit images that they put out. The government itself is trying to normalize it for some reason. And by the way, guys, just 1 minute on this sidebar. Back in the day, 7, 8 years ago, when a big part of, well, a segment of our truth research community said they're going to fake an alien invasion, well, I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. You know what? The reality is so strange, and what they're capable of is far beyond, especially what we saw with C the V 2020. As ridiculous as I thought that was 8 or 9 years ago, I don't take that off the table at this point, that they could fake at least an alien contact, not quite an alien invasion, but this reality is able to pull that shit off. It's not just about trying to understand how the men and women did it on the ground. There's a supernatural element here. So I take it back. They are capable of that, or whatever the creepy element is here is capable of that. One last time, the reason for this video is not just for me to read to you alien accounts, or I mean, not at all, is to just try to get a little bit more information as something that most of us are so fascinated by, how reality shows the investigator what it wants to see. Somebody's incredibly interested in aliens, and they spend their whole life surrounded by it and researching it and interviewing people. The reality is going to show you these weird ass events. It's a reflection of ourselves, and that's little bits and pieces we'll gain as I read some of the passages. But again, it's not just to read that it's not as clear as a spaceship came down. Did it come down? Maybe yes, maybe no, but not in the way people think. And again, I guess I'm being a little repetitive. What's most fascinating is how John Keel just starts to dabble in things that are so normal to us at this point. But he just, before the internet, he just didn't have the advantages that we have. As usual, I'll say we're not smarter. We just have we have advantages to hundreds of millions of little bits and pieces of information that he had no access to. Let's look at the second paragraph under early life for John Keel. Keel was fascinated by magic from an early age and was known as Houdini by his friends. He loved reading about magic, humor, science, travel, and aviation. His first story was published in a magician's magazine when he was 12 years old. At age 14, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, there's no doubt, he was into trying to be a magician, but is there any doubt that he was reading the alien comic books or the pulp magazines relating to aliens and the Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster, or whatever conspiracy existed at the time? Of course he was head over heels into it. And it's then reality, as he got into his career, started reflecting, in my opinion, and I think many of you would agree, what he was most interested in. Here's a bad example, but the other side of the sliding scale. There is a guy over here that just wants to be a professor of mathematics in Princeton University and can just do calculus in his sleep. And his hero is Einstein, who was also a professor at Princeton, and just was never interested in this sort of investigation. Didn't play any imaginative games as a kid like Dungeons and Dragons. And just, okay, if you take that mathematician and say, now, I'm going to pay you, back in the day, $1 million a year. I want you to go be a paranormal UFO researcher. Okay, they could go out and drive the same roads, and this is my opinion, that John Keel drove, or somebody that investigates this stuff today, because they have no real interest in it. They could go to the same spots. There would be nothing for them to find, that nothing would show up, even if that person, that mathematician, was walking in the footsteps of John Keel, because it's being generated in some way by the individual, the real spiritual being itself. This person has no interest, so the reality is just not going to reflect anything back. And there's just thousands of different types of examples like this, not just in the area of UFO research, but how about all the ghost hunters? There you go. All these, how many ghost hunting shows have been on television in the past 15 years? I mean, if you count up all the episodes, there'd be thousands and thousands of episodes. I started watching Paranormal State because it had something to do with Penn State back 12, 14 years ago, Paranormal State. Now, either they're all lying or there's something to it. And in my opinion, all these ghost hunters, the same reality is doing the same thing to them as what happened to John Keel and what the witnesses say happened to them. I would say the witnesses in some way have to be open to having a paranormal experience or having an alien come down for it to happen. It's not about just a real metal spacecraft and thrusters coming down in a farmer's field. Matt, if a real metal spaceship came from Vega, it doesn't matter what the farmer inside the house believes. Whoever is closest to where that spaceship lands is going to have the experience, the paranormal experience. No, that's not how this reality works. But who knows exactly what's going on, but the farmer that has the experience or the person that sees the gray aliens or whatever has to be at the very minimum, open to it and interested in it, because in some way they are creating it. John Keel, again, goes down this path. He doesn't know, maybe someday we'll have a very clear picture as to how this happened. And because of all the reality investigations we've done over, close to 2 decades now, because of the information we have available on the internet, we're way ahead of John Keel. He just didn't, he's smarter than we are. He just didn't have access. So maybe we're like completing his work here. I think he'd be very interested in these sorts of conversations. You have to be open and into it. So, of course, the childhood background is going to set up what happened later, because the real spiritual being is the main variable in the equation. Look at this bullshit. New sighting of Loch Ness Monster captured in photos. That ain't nothing but 2 rocks. You row your rowboat out there. You can step out on a rock, and that damn seagull bird from The Little Mermaid would fly down next to you and sing you a song. My opinion, you know what I'm going to say here, I think. If you're really interested in the Loch Ness Monster or in general this sort of phenomenon, you can have an experience. Whatever. I don't know how reality does it. It's reality itself. Truth community, if you're listening, researchers, conspiracy theorists, start talking about reality itself. Stop talking about your individual little conspiracy. Now, everybody here, Old Guard, you know that we're right about this. We can see through it. If you're in the weeds on your little conspiracy, you're not noticing the tactics of reality itself. Okay, if you're interested in Loch Ness Monster, no doubt, you spend enough time out there, something will roll your damn rowboat over, or something will come, some basilisk type head will pop out of the water. It'll happen to you if you spend enough time. If you're truly interested and you love it, because you're creating that, the real spiritual being. First rule of the Kabbalah on all is mind. If you're just sent out there on assignment, like Clark Kent at the Daily Planet, Clark, go cover the Loch Ness. Fuck that. I don't want to go out. I don't believe in no Loch Ness monster. Oh, I don't want to go out there. What is that? Loch Ness? Is that Ireland or Scotland? And Clark Kent as Superman says, what's the difference? Those 2 hellholes. I don't want to go out there. He's not interested in any way. This is all bullshit. Nothing's going to happen to him. It's pretty simple. Nothing's going to happen to him because there isn't really no real monster. It's a reflection of the real spiritual being. Hey, scientists, you egghead jerks. This is how the reality works. We're way ahead of you. You jerks making all the money, getting whacked off in the coat closets, getting all your federal funding and your university research parks and your grants. We're way ahead of you in terms of understanding how this reality works. Scientists, you have no clue. Matt, it's a little arrogant, don't you think, saying you and your conspiracy great unwashed brethren know more about reality and how things work than scientists here at the university research parks? Don't you think that's a little arrogant? No, not at all. I think it's accurate. If it's accurate, it's not arrogant. Of course you and I know more about reality than these university research park scientists. They say, what'd you get on your SAT math? I told you, I guessed on every answer almost on my SAT math. Back in the day, you could get a total or a maximum of 800. I don't know, maybe like 400. I guess a few, the ones that were basic addition I got right. Maybe I got 400 out of 800. No, I can't do your math, sir. I can't do your calculus. I don't know what your only string I know is on my damn yo-yo. I don't know what your string theory is. But because you're so smart, you're the most fooled. You have no idea how this reality truly works. You scientists are nothing but losers propagating the not-no trick, the physical trick of this reality. The first passage from the book that I'll read you comes from the very last page of the book. All the generations before ours were infested with false prophets, workers, and wonders, and signs in the sky. In a sense, each generation is truly the last generation from their microscopic viewpoint. But our modern electronic communications and sophisticated press agentry have given present-day prophets tools the ancients lacked. Ideas, no matter how bizarre or fallacious, can span the world in a flash. And there are always people ready to rally to any banner, no matter how absurd. In recent years, we've seen a worldwide revival of interest in psychic phenomena and the supernatural. Stern, no-nonsense scientists now drag their beards to Loch Ness to search for the monster, while others comb the woods of the Northwest searching for Sasquatch, and still others soberly discuss robots from outer space with Mississippi fishermen. But gradually, all of these men are being drawn closer and closer to ontology. That is the study of existence itself at the fundamental level. Everyone's being drawn to ontology, to an examination of the question that lies beyond the simplistic, quote, can these things be? The real question is, why are these things? So after thousands of interviews, he's saying there's no question. These people aren't all lying. This stuff happened, but what is actually happening? Not can. He's basically saying we've proven it. I mean, how many accounts this is Matt now, hundreds of thousands of accounts in right down to microscopic detail on a UFO encounter. Of course, they're all lying. No, of course not. But then again, it's not as simple as a spaceship landing either. That's bullshit. Here it says blah, blah, blah. Once we begin looking beyond the mere manifestations, we will finally glimpse the real truth. Okay, that is what we've been doing in this channel for 5 years. Looking at reality itself. Once we begin looking beyond the mere manifestations, this is like saying once the truth researchers stop looking at their own specific cause, their own specific conspiracy like mud flood or Tartaria, whatever it may be, it says here, we will finally glimpse the real truth after we look past the mere manifestations. Here he's saying, once we look beyond what the farmer's account was of the spaceship, that is no different than the conspiracy researcher whose topic is orphan trains. So you see what I'm saying? In this next passage that I'm about to read to you, the main reason for me making this video is summarized in this example, that what's going on depends on the real spiritual being himself or herself. So I'm going to throw you in the middle of this, guys. You won't know the details or the context, but just bear with me for 1 minute before we get to the key part. Beneath all the hallucinatory nonsense, I could now perceive the roots of many of the UFO legends. A surprising number of contactees were orphans, and through them the whole, quote, hybrid concept was launched.
They were told that their parentage was a cross between terrestrial and extraterrestrial, that slowly more and more earthly women were being impregnated by spacemen, by spacemen, and eventually the whole planet would be populated with a hybrid race. Some of the games I was involved in were obviously designed to convince me of the reality of this crossbreeding experiment. But I knew it was just an updated version of the biblical begatting theme when the sons of God went into the daughters of men. And Matt will say, yeah, the Nephilim story, of course. Here's the key. I noted that as soon as my attitude toward the game changed, the entities switched to a new game. My pregnant contactees suddenly became unpregnant. I noted that as soon as my attitude toward this game changed, the whole thing switched up. Very similar to what happened to me regarding tales of chemicals in the sky. Told you. A year and a half ago. I'm tired. I'm just tired of this. It is what it is. Don't care. Won't look up anymore. Just don't give a shit. I had somebody send me tales of chemical pictures in Philadelphia like 3-4 times a week for like years. And I, kind of told them to stop, please. And I just don't bother with it anymore. And whenever I do notice it, it's less and less and less. Yes, you might think this is a little crazy. I don't think the old guard will. We are actually a factor in tales of chemicals. If you are, as a researcher, go right into the weeds and try to figure out where the tanks of chemicals are being loaded onto the planes and what airports are being used to spray and what people at the airport are in on it, if you are at that level, you have lost. It's exactly what the Not Milk wants you to investigate and to believe about this reality. Guys, this is so important. I'm going to read this one more time. Not the whole thing, just this one little part. I noted that as soon as my attitude toward a game changed, the entities switched to a new game. My pregnant contactees suddenly became unpregnant. Now, is John Keel a real spiritual being? He's interacting with contactees who are NPCs. We will never know. We don't know. The only thing that he began to notice is what we have been noticing, that we are not just a little factor as to what reality does or what it presents us. We may be the entire engine. This was the fandom, basically, of the Matrix. The fandom, and this is just a way of getting the truth out. The fandom says, well, the audience in 1999 that went to watch The Matrix wouldn't understand this and that. So they made the people in the pods, all the people enslaved in pods, they're the energy for the machine world and the Matrix. They're the battery, remember? Turn a human being, Morpheus said, into this. Don't knock this copper top off my shoulder. Wasn't there old commercials for old heads like me and you, or anybody over 50, where the guy put the damn battery on his shoulder? What the hell was that all about? Who puts a fucking battery on so the fandom, when you dig into it, is the human beings in the pod are supposed to be the CPU, GPU, the imaginative power driving the entire Matrix, with everybody's brain and imagination wired up to drive the Matrix. That makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? We are the entire factor for this whole reality. And whether there really was a Hermes Trice, great for his girlfriend, Trice majestic, whatever, whether he really, some guy on a rock somewhere, really came up with rule number 1 of the Kabbalion, all his mind, or whether reality just inserted that because that truth had to be inserted into this reality, it doesn't matter. I'd like to believe there was really a guy that was thrice great with his girlfriend, but it doesn't matter. It's in this reality to present truth. All is mind that comes from this real spiritual being. Nothing out there can exist, but this is a prison planet. In a way it is, but you're the driver of everything. You're in charge of everything. If all is mind and you're in charge of everything, how are we truly enslaved unless we're enslaving ourselves? Give me a friggin' break. Here's another book cover for the Mothman Prophecies, and I haven't thought about this for 40 or more years, but the image that they're showing the Mothman, or whatever that is supposed to be, remember in elementary school doing something like folding over, putting ink on, I don't know, like folding over a page or something with ink, and then you open it back up, and of course both sides mirror each other. I forget exactly how we did that, but that's obviously how this was created. Just one of those elementary school ink projects. But to me, I see that's the reflection. reality or reflection of ourselves. Doesn't that seem like, didn't you do that in elementary school? I don't know exactly the details. I can't quite remember. But like folding something over, open it up, and it's like, it looks like a butterfly, but it's a mirror image on each side. I don't know if I had that book, you'd say there would be an explanation of the cover and why they chose that. But to me, the reflection or the mirror image, I doubt they would go as far as what we're going to go now, where the contactee or the abductee or those that have all the paranormal experiences, that they're not really happening to those individuals out there, objectively coming from out there, coming from the screen, or coming from a reality that's separate from themselves. In a way, they're the main component of the equation. Okay, let me read this third section to you. This letter and others like them helped to convince me that my own investigations could be manipulated. I was being led to, turn the page, I was being led to people and cases to support whatever theory I was working on at the time. Let me read that again. I was being led to people and to cases and situations to support whatever theory I was working on at the time. Where have you heard that before? I tested this by inventing some rather outlandish ideas. Within days, I would receive phone calls, reports, and mail describing elements of those ideas that he just created just to run an experiment. This was the feedback or reflective effect. Other investigators concerned with solving problems, such as how flying saucers are propelled, have automatically been fed or led into cases in which the witnesses supposedly viewed the interiors of the objects and saw things which confirmed the investigators' theories. Okay, this is exactly what we're talking about in terms of conspiracy researchers getting into the weeds on a certain topic. As you get interested in orphan trains and mud flood and babies and incubators, the reality, it will just keep coming and showing you, and different breadcrumb paths. This is reality itself doing this. Really pathetically, we are one of the only groups anywhere that realizes this. Look at this down here, related and also very related to what we go through every day. Keel writes, my thoroughness led to the discovery of coincidences, synchronicities, that seemed significant at the time. Two of my silent contactees shared the same birthday, September 6th. As soon as I realized this, circumstances added several new contactees to my stable, all women and all born on September 6th. This is extremely similar how we concentrate on the 33, and maybe Matt talks about it too much, and reality then just keeps showing us the 33. Let me read this part. This is interesting. It's not all about a spaceship lands in a field. And there's a lot of different types of paranormal phenomenon discussed in this book. The predicted plane crashes occurred right on schedule. I was slowly convincing myself that the entities that he was dealing with, or contactees, were somehow tuned to the future. I was making other startling discoveries. I had only to think about a serious question, and my phone would ring, and Jane, his assistant, I guess, would deliver a message from the entity or his contact answering the question that he was thinking about. Other UFOologists were also getting predictions from contactees. When Gray Barker arrived in New York City for the convention at the Hotel Commodore, he told me that he'd received a prediction that a famous newsman in the Midwest would die very soon, was the prediction. 2 days later, on the evening of June 23rd, Frank Edwards did suddenly die of a heart attack in Indiana. Now, getting back to the basics, where the person themselves, the investigator, is being fed by reality what they want to find, what they want to uncover. That means the investigator, the entity, that person themselves is creating the reality for themselves, or at least is a major component in this stuff happening. So getting back to, again, like I said, getting back to the basics, what type of person would be most open to having a strange paranormal experience or a UFO experience? Of course, somebody that's interested in it as a kid, and then interested in it as a young adult, then a researcher, whether it be their hobby or their full-time job, and then they have their first somewhat strange, maybe not event themselves, but they talk to somebody, A farmer says, last night there's a whole army of gray aliens ran out of my barn, or they hear that. Then they're open to more of it. Then the next thing happens and they're open to more of it. And at some point, people like John Keel become open. They've heard so many different things, so many different testimonies, where after the first 10 or 15 or 20, they're saying these people are not all lying. They seem, now that they're calmed down and I'm interviewing them on their couch, they seem completely calm and intelligent. They don't seem in any way crazy. Look, they're raising a family. The kids are normal. At some point very early on, people like John say they're not all making this up and they're not crazy, because they're holding down a job, whatever it is. So then they become open to absolutely everything. And in my opinion, the floodgates then open up, and reality continues to show them more and more strange stuff. And this, in a way, is what's happened to us since the moment we were sucked down our first rabbit hole. If that rabbit hole happened to be the 7-Eleven submission of the job application, that doesn't mean everything that will be shown to us that gets our interest will be related to that. It opens up the floodgates on everything under the, quote, conspiracy banner, or in the conspiracy bucket. This is what reality has done to us. Okay, so we have to be aware of this. A researcher just popped into my head, Project Camelot, that Carrie Cassidy. I don't know who she is, her role in all this, and some of you are going to scream PSYOP, and just stop all that. It doesn't matter. Her journey may be similar to John Keel's. Once you sit down with the first witness or interview, and the person's telling you all this weird shit. Let me tell you about the secret U.S. government programs. They know all about Nibiru and blah, 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 blah. And then you're open to more of it. And more of it seems like Carrie Cassidy's very similar to John Keel, constantly running into these people that say they know something about what the government's involved here, or secret projects in Mars, or secret space program. None of it's real. Of course, we know how reality itself operates. I haven't watched a Project Camelot anything. Does it still exist? I have no idea. I have no, Carrie Cass. I haven't thought about any of this 5, 6, 7 years or more. But it's obviously what's happening there is, assuming it's all legitimate, is what happened to John Keel. Reality itself sniffs out the person's interest and feeds them as what they're looking for in order to distract, maybe, whatever the reason may be. But the person doing the interviewing has to understand that they're not just an interviewer. They may be the key part of the entire equation. Okay, let's walk through an example, just see how this goes. Now, if you've researched the types of things we've dabbled in over the last 10 or 15 years, or the old guard, at some point, whether you just watched a few videos or dove into this for several months, we've all seen this the secret space program. All right, it's a bunch of bullshit, but it's all bullshit. That reality itself, almost everything we've ever taken recitierly in terms of investigation is bullshit. It's a fake reality, which is the best news of all time for you, but we've all seen this. The U.S. space program. Now, forget all that. Is there any doubt that if you became interested in this topic this week, that all the old guard sees this, we've been talking about this for years, reality would lay down before you and show you every bit of evidence that this is real. Say you didn't really believe it, but somebody came up to you in a New York City subway yesterday and said, "Investigate secret space program. Donnie Darko told me to tell you that. It's his countdown with Frank of 28 days is real, and Donnie Darko." Just some weird, and then the person went through the doors and was off, and you said, "Wait a second." And then you just said, "Okay, let me start looking at the secret space program." Is there any doubt that there would be an endless amount of information showing how real this is? And then you'd run into this interview. What was her name? Catherine Austin Fitz. Oh, she worked for the U.S. government, and she presents herself very well, and she's obviously very intelligent. If she's talking about the secret space program, Catherine Austin Fitz, well, maybe it's real. And then more information would show you it's real. You know what? This is just the reality trick. There ain't no secret space program and the fucking things flying around up. It's all bullshit. And 99% probably of those involved in it or researching it, for example, or Catherine Austin Fitts, or they believe in every bit of it. They're not like told to read, okay, Matt, she was a high-level executive for the government. Okay, I don't know her role exactly. Does it really matter? The point being made here is the same either way. It doesn't matter whether very few are reading lines. They believe in every bit of it. Carrie Cassidy doing those interviews, every single interview was all faked by the government. No, it's just we see from the John Keel book and even Mothman going back to the 70s. This is what reality does. Well, Matt, explain. I remember seeing interviews about the 10th planet, Nibiru, and Planet X. She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes. Woo, woo. And then Nibiru, if it happens, look at the moon someday, and what's that gigantic body coming around the moon? I always do it the same way. If it's Nibiru, who cares? There's nothing really physical here anyway. Welcome it in like Chicken Little. Who gives a shit? Okay, I saw Carrie Cassidy, Project Camelot interviews, and these people are so believable. We have a secret team for the U.S. government, and Nibiru's real, and it's going to return. And first off, okay, let's not get too much in the weeds. But first off, you have to ask yourselves, if that was true, why would the black ops of the government be allowing the person to talk about it? Of course, they would be double tap. You knock on the door like Tommy Boy. You want mint for pillow? You want me jerk you off? What kind of hotel is this? It would be a double if you gave up secrets, like dark secrets or whatever. We're allowed to dabble in here. No whistleblower. Nobody ever came here and said I've got secret info. I wouldn't even want to talk to them. I said my reality is a half page. I don't want you. I'm not going to change my half page for you. You could be here to taint my understanding of reality. I've never taken any secret packages like meeting at the orange level for the crop report. We do this together. So I guess the rules of this reality, even if we hit on it, we're allowed to continue to talk about it and dabble in it. Is that the rules of this reality? But the secret space program and Catherine Austin Fitts and all these people, Nibiru and all these, the people giving the interviews. Well, how does that work, Matt? That they're all just lying and you know what? Don't get into those weeds. This is the lesson here. I implore you, do not get into those weeds. Well, Matt, they're all such good actors. Do not get into those weeds. They may be a different entity than you. They may be an NPC. They might not be the same spiritual being. Who knows how it happens? This is a supernatural fake world. Even if you're not Mandela affected, you should be able to see that at this point. Impossible coincidences. Lynn, stop trying to figure it all out. There's 100 million things a day that we'll never understand. Look what's going on here. Every single person John Keel interviewed over 30 years all faked it. Come on, just the alien stuff by itself is so endless and so impossible. No real world could pull this off. So stop trying to figure it out. It's fascinating. The original point here was you get interested in secret. Jeff will try to go off and investigate secret space program. He'll come back to me later today with references to the 9 paired with the 11, references to the 33. Okay. No real world could do this. Matt, we're back at the same exact sentence. We're back at the same exact sentence. I'm glad you're here, though. We'll get a few laughs together. You want mint for pillow? You want me jerk you off? All right, guys, I'm going to end it with this section. I'd love to go another 45 minutes. There's so many more examples. There will be a part 2 or probably even a part 3. The wind is kicking up every so often, and when it does, it's like a house shook or the electricity. I've got to make sure this loads. So in my hands, I've had this for years. Somebody sent me years ago, Under an Ionized Sky, Elena Freeland, from Tales of Chemicals to Space Fence Lockdown. And I had this here 4 years. Somebody sent it to me. And I remember looking through it, reading certain parts of it, going, the amount of detail in here is impossible. It's just impossible. And when I first started thinking this is impossible, I'm not even going to read you any segments. Just where could she have possibly uncovered this information in this level of detail with statistics and this secret government project? And it just, endless minutia little details. I thought, well, I don't know the role of this Elena Freeland. I don't know if she's trying her best, or is it reality playing a trick with a last name Freeland? What a coincidence! Reality playing a trick. The name of the name of the person trying to uncover, give away the all the tyranny here about what they're doing, and the space fence is named Freeland. I mean, reality does like to play that game from time to time. I just remember looking through this, going, "This is impossible. Nobody could find out all this." So I thought, well, is she in on it? Is she now? But see, more and more, I don't know that I can't really assume that, especially based on the lessons we've learned over the last 3 or 4 years. And with this example, in today's primer example, Mothman Prophecies, John Keel. So I can only assume that whoever wrote this book, this Elena, just went down the same path as John Keel. And the space fence, and the ionized sky, and the tales of chemicals. And as she dove into the research, reality itself started to reconfigure itself, paint the picture, give her the information she needs, the secret documents, whatever is in here. Again, you read small sections and you go, nobody could possibly compile this unless it's all a setup, or it's just a trick of reality itself. And reality laid down before her to give her everything she needs to make a book like this. Why? Ultimately, what's the purpose? It's the same sentence from the reality and dark reality: to distract you from what you're supposed to be doing as a spiritual being. It's the same one sentence: to keep you from what you're supposed to be doing, to get you further in the weeds on whatever your topic of the month is, or conspiracy of the month, or conspiracy of the year. And people reading this just getting further and further mired into the muck. And again, I'm not going to point fingers at this person. But all I can say is the book, whether it was intentionally harmful or she just fell for the same trick as John Keel, but John Keel got a sense as to what was going on with reality itself via just a few of the passages I read for you. And most of these people don't. They just get more and more into the weeds and more secret data about secret space programs and the space fence and Space Force. And their research is very harmful to our community, because it pulls one further and further into the weeds, which is exactly what the Not Nilk wants. No real world could pull this off. I've said that just once or twice. I'll leave you with that. Maybe if we have a chance sometime, I will read passages from this book. It's impossible what's in here. The amount of details. This is, and like Mothman, I will give to the goodwill. It generally opens people's eyes up that there could be things going on in reality that are, it's Mothman Prophecies is a mind-opening book. This book, which I'm holding in my hand, which you're looking at now, is something to suck people into the darkest depths of the weeds on this topic. And that's very dangerous, and it's exactly what the spiritual adversary Not Nilk wants. Thanks for listening.